Financial advisor, planner, or broker, so nothing on this channel should be taken as a recommendation to buy or sell. I also trade all of these things, so I probably have a vested interest in there. But there's plenty of entertainment value and lots of education, so this will be awesome. For those of you who didn't know, my subscription channel is live, so look at the link in the description over at cryptoinfluencers.com. And you can see how I make all of my trades and what I do and what I think about everything. This channel is for more hypothetical and looking at trends, and the other one is for actual trading, so you might be interested in that. All right, happy Wednesday. It's officially our favorite day of the week. Oh man, so good. Dilemma, thanks for joining. Glad to know this thing is working. In the past, I have had a struggle talking to myself for a while and then figuring out that I needed to push play or something. So we're getting there. We're getting better and better as we go. Yesterday, I guess there was some problems with my microphone on my video. I didn't know. I'm so sorry. Hopefully it's good today. If not, please let me know. That's the advantage of live. People can tell you when something is going wrong. But before we get too far, I just wanted to remind you all, cryptoinfluencers.com is my home base. This is where I do all of my, this is where I upload all my stuff first. So the free channel is here, paid channel is here, and that's pretty much all you need to know. Let's get going. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the markets, and then we're just going to hang out and talk and answer questions and see what you guys are thinking. Overall, this is our market. This is Bitcoin on the weekly. So we came up really hard off the bottom. We got above our falling wedge, found it as support, and now we're in no man's land. No one's sure what this is all about and where it resolves. And so we're kind of looking to figure out what happens next. So the very interesting thing, so I'm just going to hop in. Fed Chair Jerome Powell has been talking a lot lately, and that does have an impact on our market. So let's just take a quick look. Just for my own entertainment, I don't ever trade smaller time frames, but I do like to watch how Bitcoin and the S&P react. And this morning was very, very interesting. I'm going to hide volume since it's not going to matter so much. Look what happened this morning. So we just, at 8 o'clock, so let me line this up just right so that you can see my little crosshairs, how they go across the whole screen at the same time. At 8 o'clock, Jerome Powell starts speaking. Apparently he gives his speech out, and then AI bots read it and they decide whether it's bullish or bearish. And so the second the 8 o'clock, this is mountain time, so 1500 UTC, he gets on, the S&P just dropped like a rock. And just for 2 minutes, just dropped straight down, pretty decent. Bitcoin dropped along with it, but it completely reversed course and ended up with a green candle. So there is normally, on a normal average day, they would just both go down together. And eventually S&P turned around, but Bitcoin just hit its high for the morning. So we haven't seen this high yet since then, but that just says that there are people watching this and there are people that are buying. There's a little bit more strength here than weakness. So as I trade, I'm always looking at all these, I look at lots of little technicals, averages, kind of what zone we're in, kind of the time of the year as far as, where are we in the 4-year cycle? What are the other charts saying? I zoom out, I zoom in. I'm just looking at everything. Well, the other thing that I kind of get from all of this is that there's just kind of an underlying emotion, and it's really hard to describe. But you can just get the idea of what the majority are thinking when you kind of look at the shape and how the market reacts. And in this case, it is very strange. I would have expected a little bit more bearishness. I thought we were going to fall down a little bit further by now. And so the fact that we're holding up is very interesting. And you can see it in these little things here, where S&P is dropping fast and Bitcoin just like, no way, we're not doing that. And then it shows a little bit more strength. Throughout the day, I've noticed that, later on in the afternoon, the Bitcoin and the S&P have kind of gone opposite directions. So there's just been a little bit of variance, but on the whole, things seem to agree. Let's zoom in a little bit though, and zoom out a little bit, I mean. Let's look at this daily. This is the chart that we were looking at yesterday. So what we were looking at is there's this line right here. So there's this line that touches the top of this candle. This was our kind of first sort of resistance. And then this was our first support. Back here, we didn't think this was important. Back here, we didn't even know this was coming. But now that they exist, drawing a line here, suddenly it's important. I don't know why. Traders are weird individuals, especially large investor, companies and whatever. There's just a rhyme and there's a pattern and there's just always something. You're never sure where it'll be until you're a little ways in, but then you find it. And so far, this has been very, very interesting for me to watch. So I was expecting that we would find support here. I thought we were going to drop to 21,300 much earlier. That's probably our highest realistic support. I mean, you could bump it up a teeny bit if you went to here, but we kind of already hit that here. And believe me, if we come down to 21,600, we're probably going to fall further, because whenever you have a high and a higher high, you need a higher low. Because if you get an equal low or a lower low, then your market's turning around. But I kind of felt like we would have retreated a little further off of this golden cross by now. Now that we know that we're retreating, this is when people's emotions get ahead of themselves and you see larger sell-offs. But what we're not seeing emotionally in this market is a big sell-off. For some reason, we are staying above 22,000, and it's very unusual. This is, it's these little things that get me, where I'm like, yeah, we should have sliced right through that. We should have come down to a normal support somewhere down in 21.5 to 20,000. Rock bottom, I'm thinking about 20,200 at the this 100 that's rising. Like, that's usually where I would think, yeah, that's where the buck stops. But every time we've dropped below 22,000, we've been bought back up again. And I know that this is still fresh, but this line here was important on our drop. This is where we stopped. Yesterday we found it as support. Today we went further down and currently finding it as support. Of course, what's funny about Wednesday is it seems like whenever I talk about Bitcoin and look at it when there's 4 hours left in the day, it just seems like something weird happens. So I'm sure all of this will just like completely upside down, later on today. Wednesdays are just so weird. It just feels like every time Wednesday happens, things just get really wacky right after we've closed the stream. But anyway, it's just really been interesting to watch this. But so far, we've been respecting and holding on to this line really well. And what's also interesting is that we finally had enough data points to call this falling wedge. We finally had some movement on the top. We finally have enough touch points on the bottom. And it's easier to see that this falling wedge now exists. And where we would expect to find support on the bottom of a falling wedge would be this blue line here. And for some odd reason, and I can't explain it, we are finding support on this line here. So what we've got is a cross of support right here. And we touched it. We touched down on it yesterday. And today we kind of touched back down through, and now we're pulling back up again. And it's very interesting. But when we're working on a leg down, especially if it's measured and it makes sense. You know, this leg down has structure to it. It's not just a pure emotional, you know, falling to the middle of the earth. Then you kind of have some parameters. And once you've got the parameters and you've got structure, now you can look for signs of a turnaround. And the two things wrong with this is that we never touch the top of our falling wedge. So that's not good. But on the other hand, we've been showing an unusual amount of strength here, and we're starting to kind of flatten a little bit. If we flatten for too long, we are going to start a leg up. And these lower candles make it much easier to start a bullish engulfing or some kind of reversal candle in here. So I'm really watching, and I actually think we might be closer than we think. One other thing that I want to point out about the emotions of this chart is that this drop, it was definitely manipulated. We kind of established all of that, but normally, you know, it does play, it has a place in the emotions of this chart, because even if it was manipulated, technical analysts and just people looking at the chart in general are going to have an emotional response from the shape of this. And what really stands out in this chart here is that we are pulling back pretty good. We're coming down. Normally, when you break a low, that's when you find more fear. A lot of fear happens when you break an intraday low. Well, look at this low. The low here was 21,971. So this was an emotional low. And a lot of people see this as kind of a dead cat bounce or something. And then how do we interact with this low again the next time? And yesterday, we were kind of all over the map, but we were pulling back pretty hard. S&P dropped really hard yesterday. And we did end up with a new lower low. But the lower low didn't create any fear. So that's what's so interesting about these. I mean, these are just tiny little nuances in these charts. But we have a new low, and it ended up not causing any kind of major panic or any major sell-off or anything like that. And in fact, we pulled up a pretty decent amount. Now we're starting a new day. Let's see what S&P is doing today. Down barely. It's not doing that much. But Bitcoin is definitely pulling down. We're moving down. And today we had a lower low. And so we've put in a couple of lower lows, and we have not experienced a big fear candle. So this has not materialized into an emotional response from traders. So if you're going down and there's no fear and there's no emotional response, that means bears are weaker than we think. We are getting very close to a leg that this leg down is almost done, is what it is. That's the way this reads to me. And if this leg down is almost done, then we can really start analyzing what does the next leg up look like. Well, if this is support, the most logical place to return back to would probably be this line here. I mean, we may reject off the 50. That would be logical. Rejection off the 50 is a complete, like, that's totally on the table. That's at 23,000. So we could come up 1,000 and reject, but there's an argument to be made that that wouldn't be a leg up at all because of how steep this is. So we would have to go flat for a while and then reject off the 50, or we'd have to do something else, because if we just kind of bounced up and hit the 50, this would still be almost within our parameters of our descending. Almost, it would be like more of a channel at that point, but it wouldn't be necessarily a leg up. So it's interesting. The shape of this just kind of says that it would probably make more sense for us to return to the tops of this if it's going to be an actual leg up. So I'm thinking closer to this, anywhere from 23.6 to 23.8, like somewhere in there would be sort of the target of our next leg at the minimum. And if that happens, we're getting really close to crossing the 50 on the weekly. Those types of things are major. And if we get up to this area, we're also going to be exiting above the 50-day moving average, which would put us back into a green zone. And flipping from yellow to green is very bullish, very bullish. So I know there's a lot of, there's a lot of emotions when things are pulling back, especially after a huge long bear market. It feels like every move down is just like the end of the world. But it's just not going to be. It's not going to go on forever. And this is why I've been so bullish since this top, is that at this point, we have so much more support under us than resistance. Someone in the pro channel was asking where would we fall if we kind of lost this 22,000 area? Where is our support? Well, there's support here, 21.2, 21.3, there's support. There's also support at 20,200. If you go to the weekly, there's support right here at 20,800 or so. Yeah, really, really good support. We've got a couple of points that would strengthen this level of support. So 20,900 is pretty strong. We still have 21.8 on the table. That is very possible. Like, we might be there. And then if you look at the monthly, the support, like undeniable support, is at 20,500. We've got like 5 layers of support between where we are and the last straw, which would be 20,000. 19,700 is officially the 200-day moving average. So we have a million lines of support down here. That's why this was so wild. We just broke through everything. And then we established a consolidation for a long enough time that we've now cemented a lot of this support in place. And you can see how the whales aren't really behind a lot of fear. They're not selling this off really fast in a kind of maniacal panic way. So things it's a little bit slower and a little bit more measured. This certainly wasn't very measured, but they didn't get the response they were looking for. Whales want to pull markets back so that they can create more downside, so that they can get better prices and things. And we've barely budged from that move. In fact, we're still trading higher than the low. So really, really fascinating how the emotions are kind of being shown in this. If there wasn't any support back here and we were just looking at this, like, let's pretend this was our chart, that suddenly out of nowhere, without a rhyme or reason, we went up this high and now we're struggling. Well, yeah, you would definitely expect a leg down, and it would probably be around the 100 or the 200, just looking at this without any history. Because if it didn't make sense that there was a reason for this move, you would come back down and find support or something in here. You'd have your little struggle, and eventually you'd be moving on by like June or whatever. We could still do that, but now when you add all the rest of this color in, and you can see that we have had a really strong consolidation in this 21.7 to 19,000 zone, like this whole area. We've really established a ton of consolidation. Well, now you look over here and we're consolidating above those levels. That's so bullish. It's so good. Like, this is we'd be reversing a lot of progress if we started trading back down in this range again. So anything that happens in this lower range is going to be short-lived, in my opinion. Just from the shape of this, just from the emotions, just from these little nuances that give you information coming out of these candles that are coming through. So I am definitely not in the camp of panicking and being worried about it. My account's a little down because I've taken a lot of long positions expecting the market to go, and I'm as comfortable as can be. I'm ready. I'm just waiting patiently for this thing to come back around. So it's looking great, looking pretty good. So S&P, I'm bullish S&P. I know we had a big day yesterday, and today's a little bit red, but this looks like a reversal to me. and we've come off of our bottom. This was our little X marks the spot, and we're coming up. Over the next few days and weeks, we're going to get plenty of support from the S&P, and that will also strengthen Bitcoin's case. Bitcoin's been showing more strength than the S&P in general, just in the last few candles and things. And so, you know, it could still be independent, but it will definitely do better if the S&P goes up with it. So anyway, a lot to think about, a lot of interesting developments that are happening here in the chart, and we're just waiting and watching and seeing what will happen next. So that's pretty much everything I really wanted to touch on. I guess, well, I have one other thing, but I'll just check chat really quick. Enoch Lion says, when BTC moon? Lol. Yeah, it's hard to believe that it would come. You know, it does not. You know, time is pain, right? So it's hard to remember what bullish markets felt like when you've gone down for 16 straight days. But I'm a patient trader. I think in terms of months and weeks and months and years over, you know, hours and even days sometimes. So this is just a minor pullback in my mind. And it's not, it's not a big emotional thing where I'm impatient for something to happen. I'm definitely seeing a lot of good signs here, but you know, I'm also prepared to handle a drop down to 20,000 or whatever as well. So in that case, we're good. Hi, Calvin, says David, 2024. Yeah, by 2024, this thing's going to be way out there. We're going to be well on our way. A lot of things will be behind us. Blue Sky, welcome to chat. The 4-hour price action for the past 35 candles looks weak. I would expect that. Let's look. Yep. If you take it from the top, this is our 25,000 top. We've definitely been going down from that point, no question about it. What is interesting is that when you're sloping upwards, it's not good. That tells you that the bulls are weak and that they don't have very much gas in the tank. So this slow move up without much movement was actually the weak portion of this chart. And now this move was intended to create more fear, and it pretty much went sideways. I mean, there was a slight upper slope to this. Well, now we're slowly sloping down. Slowly sloping down means bears are out of gas. So this is where I'm reading more strength in this market at this point. So bears are starting to lose the momentum. And in fact, their major momentum was one candle. Most of this is sideways and indecision. And even this move up and down really, you know, time-wise, when you move up in one candle and reverse the next candle, it's essentially the same as having a wick here. So most of this is sideways. Like the upward slope is very, very weak. So this was a little stronger, this was a little weaker. And now it's the bears' chance to run this thing into the ground, and they're not doing it. That's where I'm seeing weakness in the bears. Like I feel like we're getting closer to a turnaround when I see stuff like this. So that's kind of what I'm reading. All right, I'll just put this in, and then if there are no more questions, we'll just wrap it up. We don't need to look at the same thing over and over for too long. But I'm still watching for the most, you know, the best match. And anything below 20 variance is sort of believable. It's still pretty variable. Like I have 9 data points that I'm basing this match on. And if you're 18% off, that means every one of those data points averages 2% off. So it's not the best. But our last 55 days looks like this. We're almost 55 days into our sideways consolidation at the top of this thing. So that's making our matches, hopefully pretty soon we'll find closer matches. But the best one we've been looking at is this June of 2020, and we've matched this for many days. Matching this move down, this little high here matched with this, and just so happens that on June 21st, it kind of got the closest fit. So here's a little bit of a slope down. Here's our little slope down. This was our little bit of a high. This was our high. This was our lower high over here. And then our dip down. There must have been a candle or something in here that matched well. And then here's our rise from where we were before. And so I really feel like this pullback is about complete. Back in 2020, we did this for another month. We just kind of went sideways. I think there's a little more emotion in our market than there was back in 2020. In 2020, people were scared because we had just come off of the COVID crash and people weren't sure what to expect. But I could really see us starting to lift off. And when we lift off, everything's going to go. Ooh, and proof of that, believe me, if Bitcoin gets going, everything's going to go. And the proof of that is our Ethereum Bitcoin. We did get, let me get over to the daily. We did exit the red zone at close yesterday. So cool. That means that Ethereum is going to start outpacing Bitcoin, and our target is here. What does that mean? Where's our percent? 19%. So Ethereum will likely outpace Bitcoin by about 20% over the next little while. So if Bitcoin goes up 1,000, Ethereum should be going up 1,200. So Ethereum's in a good spot for that. And Bitcoin dominance just exited the green zone to yellow. So Bitcoin dominance was on the rise December 6th. And so you wanted to be in Bitcoin and let go of the alts. Now we're showing a reversal in this. So now you want to be in alts and Ethereum. And if that's true, this market's going to be really fun if Bitcoin starts moving, because everything else is going to really, really get moving. So that is exciting. So I've been really watching that. Others' dominance, definitely struggling right now. But that means the larger caps, Ethereum and the top 100, they're getting a little stronger. They're actually doing okay. There's a lot of red though. Today, we've got others at, these are the micro caps, down 3%, where the entire total market cap is only down 1.2%. So they are definitely taking the hit on the chin today. But anyway, all right, let's see what else we got. Enoch Line, and I'm still waiting for Bitcoin to hit 3,000. Man, if that hits 3,000, man, yeah, I just don't even see that as being possible. Unless a nuclear bomb goes off or something, even then it would be hard to do at this point. But that's my opinion. I'm not right on everything. Solana versus Bitcoin. What do you think about that? I have so much Solana. Well, David, if you're the only one asking questions, then you get the answers. Let's go check it out. Let's look at spot Solana versus Bitcoin. Yeah, let's see. Solana. Wow, look at that thing. That's the history of Solana. Obviously, exiting the red zone was magic for this thing. This would have been our first indication that we were getting toppy. But then we managed to exit yellow to white again, and we ran up for another run. And then things got kind of flat. And then this was our bear market. So we had a fake out here, and then this was our most recent exit. This is where I managed to get Solana, but this is versus Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is outpacing Solana, especially a lot today. Where would this make sense? Yeah, it's pretty far away. There's resistance here, support here, and resistance here. So you can see where we got toppy here, there was support, and then we hit it as resistance recently. But I'm betting that our market is turning. I'm betting that we won't be touching these bottoms anymore. And there's not a lot to point to in this chart, since this would be our support. Yeah, I'm betting that our most recent consolidation is probably about there. I'm betting 7. Yeah, so like in Satoshis, this would be 75,000 Satoshis. But I would expect us to start hitting wherever we're going to hit. We're probably going to find some support in this area. So I bet we're probably, this might be a selling climax. So we might be actually getting there as far as this chart goes. Once things get long, then you know that emotions are at their highest and things are about to change. So yeah, just looking at that. Good luck with all of that. Solana, that's been a tough one ever since the FTX thing. Let's see, where is Solana on USD? Can't find it. SOL. Crypto. Oh, no, whoops. I want Solana USDT. Source. MEXC. Here it is. Okay. Yeah, I'm blind. So yeah, even versus the dollar, it's pulling back. But yeah, I don't see a strong change. Like there's no bottoming candles here. But the 100 is obviously right there. And our chance for a turnaround is right here at 17.19. So there's something there. But anyway, most of these aren't going to do a whole lot until Bitcoin turns around. So that's kind of what we're waiting for. Let's see. Mike's asking about Theta. I'll circle back in just a sec. Blue Sky says, how do you differentiate between a major support versus a minor support? It's the scale and the time you've spent there. So the more touches defines a support, major and minor, by far. Like the amount of time you've spent there and how many touches on a specific line make it extremely important. If there's a lot of touches on a wider time frame, so if there's a lot of touches on a weekly chart, it's going to be way more powerful than the same thing on a daily, and monthly is even more. So the higher the time frame and the more touches on a point, especially if it becomes a pivot point where you're above it and you find lots of support points, and then you're below it and you find lots of resistance points, that's major. But yeah, if you don't have very much to go off of, then there will be other things at play. Usually trends, you'll have to look for reversal candles or things like that. I usually look for, I look at where we are in relation to the 20 a lot of times when I don't have something to really point to, because the 20 is a shorter term indicator and it's generally pretty important. So the 20 on a higher time frame will help you find places of support or resistance too. And then my overall averages, I look at all that. And then Enoch Lion says, unless there's more FUD news, the SEC is cracking the whip. Yeah, SEC has been bearing down pretty rough. It's been very, very interesting. You're welcome, Blue Sky. All right, let's look at Theta. Might as well, since we got some time. Oh, look at that, I even found it. Here's another one, we're right on the 100. There's a rhyme and a reason. There's a lot going on and it seems to rhyme. Things oftentimes go in the same direction. What's interesting about Theta is we do have a defined point of support and resistance. You can see it very clearly. There's one here, there's support here, and we have a long wick. So that means support can exist anywhere along this wick. And then here we have a candle body that's low with a long wick. And this wick, we can have support anywhere along this, but since it coincides with this wick, this section of the wick is the most important. So there's more support here. Now you look over here and there's resistance. So this is the bottom, this is the top. So between this bottom and this top, in this tight little range, this is where the majority of our flipping point is. Support and resistance is found right in here. And we established it as an important point right here again. So we've got 4 points on the same in the same range on the daily chart. And look what we're doing now. We're playing in that play zone right now. And we're doing it coming off of a huge drop. I would very, very much expect to find support here. And this candle hasn't closed, but it's going to have a hard time closing below this box because this is a very well established line and we've been above it for a while, and it's going to take some muscle to get through it. We're either going to have to close on it and start a new candle below, or we're going to bounce from here. Like this is how this would normally play out. And we've got our 100 working with us. So, and the range here, let me just give you the numbers for those who can't see my screen very well. It's a tight range of 97.8 cents and 96.3 cents. So it's like a 1.5 cent range. But yeah, and where are we trading? 96.5. So we're like right there. So yeah, I mean, if we wake up, let's just say that Bitcoin has got what it needs. We've had a couple of weak bear days in a row. Let's say we pull up and we actually end up with a doji candle or something tomorrow, and we start a tiny little green candle. This whole market could completely change around. It could all happen in a day. Of course, depending on who opens their big mouth and what the S&P does, like things could certainly deteriorate quickly. But I still feel like there's more hands holding this thing up than pushing it down. And when we get another spark ignited at the bottom of this leg, the next leg's going to get going, and enthusiasm is going to build in fast because on larger time frames, we're bullish. We've already established a very defined bottom. We've had a higher high. In fact, we're consolidating higher than we were down here. So this is definitely a flip from support to resistance, like from resistance before and support now. And so all this needs is a little spark. A move out above the 50 week, this thing will just go, and we'll go straight to the 100 week, I'm sure. And how do I know that? Support and resistance. This is our resistance line, 31.6. And we will, there's nothing in the way here. There's nothing to stop us between this 25 and 31.6. And so we get above the 200, whatever, we will likely wick up to the 100, and we'll probably close our candle body right at 31.7. That's what I'm expecting. It just makes perfect sense. Does it always happen the way you think it will? No. But that would be a pretty likely scenario in my mind. The 20 you're using, is that the EMA or the SMA? I keep things simple. I usually use the SMA for everything. I know there's a little difference, but I don't know. Call me old-fashioned. I keep it simple. Okay, well, we've been at this for a little while, 38 minutes. Decent conversation. Lots going on. I know there's some FUD out there with, the SEC seems to be coming down on everybody. But I've also seen the flip side of that things are starting to change. Here's a good question. WMJ, aren't you upset that you closed your shorts and opened longs? You are dreaming of upside. Massive crash coming, buddy. Okay. No, I'm not too upset. And the reason why is I manage my risk in a way that I'm looking for the larger swings. I did close a ton of shorts. Well, actually, first of all, let me just explain. As Bitcoin was coming off of this bottom, I opened a ton of longs. And I closed a lot right in here when I could really start seeing the pullback happening. So I closed a ton of my longs here, and I took a couple of shorts in here, and then they went upside down. So the shorts I have are actually just barely in profit now. But I had taken a decent short of Bitcoin down in here, and it is upside down. I minimized my exposure once I could tell that this whole market was changing, and I limited some of it, but I still have a giant amount of Bitcoin that I'm still short, and I'm using that as kind of a balancer for my portfolio because I have a lot of long positions in alts, and I have a decent long position in Ethereum. And with that Bitcoin short, it all kind of balances my exposure so that I can handle a decent amount of movement down. And once we hit a solid point where we have a good reversal or something that's pretty defined, then I'll close the Bitcoin short. If we pull all the way back up to 25, I'm expecting us to just go. And same with exiting the weekly 50. All those places, I'll just take the loss on the short, and we're ready to rock and roll. So. Yeah, it's just management. I'm looking at my overall portfolio, and I make individual questions or individual decisions, but I kind of keep everything in balance. I don't want to make one move that explodes my whole thing, and I need to have enough liquidity that whatever position I'm in, I can handle a decent amount of downsides. So wake up, you're dreaming, Calvin, being sarcastic. And as long as you're not leveraging, it's fine. The future is long, no doubt. Well, I leverage everything. So everything I have is leveraged, but I also have liquidity to cover. So that makes it so that I'm not necessarily leveraged, but I don't have to tie up my funds and keep them on exchange where I have exchange risk. So yeah, interesting points. Hopefully there's something to be learned from that, but it's working for me. We're getting there. Long term, I'm extremely bullish, and I think we're closer to that outcome than we are farther away. Yeah, don't believe everything you see on the news. The news is misdirection. The news is FUD. When I look at a chart like this, and I see an unbelievably strong resistance line that we broke out of and found as support, this is the time to be going long, not short. So total market, I'm bullish. And Bitcoin, it's just a matter of time. So that's where I stand. Let's go. About to start stacking Anchor. What do you think about that graph? All right, let's take a look. Anchor. I'm not sure if, you know what, maybe I won't look at it. I'm going to look at it on Binance, just because they seem to have more history. Take a look. Very cool. Yeah, interesting. Look at that. In 2020, we hit a resistance point that became our support point in 2022. It took about 2.5 years. Wow, yeah, about 2.5 years to flip from resistance to support. That's pretty interesting. These longer time frames really give you a pretty good view. This is definitely our double top on Bitcoin, and we've been pulling back pretty hard. On my chart, you can see that there's some colored lines here. From yesterday's close, this is double, this is triple, and this is quadruple. So this is just an indicator that I wrote. Very obvious in the more recent time frame is that we have 4 levels of support through here, and these levels have wicks which coincide with this top and this top. So we have hit the underside of resistance twice in the same place where we had support for the prior 4 touches here. So that's very, very interesting. Right now, we exited the red zone with authority and had an amazing move, and then we got super toppy with this candle. And in fact, it was after this candle, yeah, this candle really brought us down. So we're getting punished for getting overexcited here. The one thing missing from this chart is any sort of leg up or down. Like there's no visible retreat to like establish support or resistance. So we're slipping up and slipping down. It's kind of ugly right now. This is going to take some time for sure. This is going to kind of be in no man's land. Support probably around the 200. But this will probably be in no man's land until the market fatigues and actually gives us a bottom so that we have something to measure from. So yeah, I probably wouldn't touch this one for a little while. Even if we turn around, there will probably be an oscillation to kind of recover from this wacky move. So yeah, I'd be really patient. It'll be about 2 months before you really can see the direction on this one. Hopefully that helps. Look at Algorand. Why not? Let's do. Algo. Here we go. Yeah, this thing slipped below everything. There's not a ton of data here. Let me actually see if I can find this on Binance too. And maybe there's no... Yeah, there's more history. A lot more. Okay. Wow. Okay, so Algo, it started off as a total pump and dump. Oh, ouch. That is brutal. Hopefully you weren't involved in that early. Holy cow. A coin that looks like this from the get-go really makes you question who's in charge of this thing, right? Did the founders and advisors just dump the crap out of this the second they got it launched? So that's not pretty. What it ended up being, though, is much better, you know, because it actually provides a service and is a decent coin. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, so we have this wild oscillations recovering from this drop. But it finally found some legs and moved up pretty well. And then we've been doing the bear market just like everybody else. The consolidation point happened right here. There's not a ton of reason why. There was the same level of consolidation here. So it's really odd that you would consolidate in the same area twice. Usually you'll pick a side. You'll either consolidate below it or above it. So the fact that we're right in the middle is going to make this a really difficult resistance to fight up across. Yeah, so this would be a pretty tough resistance band. And I guess proof of that is that's where we got stopped, right? These bottoms down here rejected our tops right here. So this will take some work to muscle back through this. It'll do it with Bitcoin's help. Today is looking pretty rough. But yeah, same story. We're below all of our averages and we're heading down. If we're patient enough and get this into a red zone and exit the red zone, that would probably be the best entry. But yeah, looking at this right now, I wouldn't be touching this because you have no idea if the short is halfway done or it's completely done. The risk reward is really low on a short. And then we don't have any kind of indication that we're turning around. So if you went long, who knows how long you'd be waiting for this thing to move. So yeah, this is not one I'd be touching right now. Hopefully that'll teach you something about, you know, some of that TA stuff. And then let's see, James Roy. All right, I'll just do two more just because, you know, I don't know if everyone wants to watch specific coins. Some people have a, you know, a bag of it and it's important to them, and other people are like, oh, don't waste my time. But hopefully the TA is helpful to kind of see how I read a chart, you know. But yeah, let's look at INJ and then we'll wrap up there. So let's see, what's INJ doing? INJ, I'm currently short in INJ. Yeah, okay, well, you know, here's another example of one I need more data for. Okay, let's take a look. Yeah, so the first thing I like to do on a coin that I'm just analyzing, zoom out. So here's a coin that entered the scene and had a lot of excitement. To pop up and hit your all-time high, this is hype phase. And sometimes it's hard to recover your hype phase if it gets way overexcited. So, you know, we might. But weird that we would have topped in May of 2021 when Bitcoin was hitting its top later. So this one, I think it might have been that we'd gotten too high and then it kind of had pulled back. And then we hit bear market and we've actually been sideways. So the original bottom that everyone thought was the bottom for Bitcoin ended up being the bottom for this one. So there's some really positive things happening here. But yeah, we got double bottom here. So there's probably some really significant support here. We've got an interesting band right in here where there's lots of future support. This will be support for us here. It was resistance here. So we had this resistance band that we struggled with. We popped up briefly and then got wiped out from FTX. And then we were back down again. Fell down to our bottom here and then popped up. And it's been going so strongly that we've been in a green zone. All of our averages have lined up and everything's been good. The first sign of weakness was when we closed below the 20 right here. That was our big sign of weakness. And now we flip from green to yellow. So green to yellow is kind of a death sentence for a while. And so this baby's coming down. I'm resolving I'm gonna just kind of take my profits here, just because I think a move up in Bitcoin's gonna come along, and I think a lot of this is gonna get stopped out from going down further, and the upside will be better. So I'd like to resolve all of my shorts sooner than later. But there's no reason this wouldn't go down and hit the 100. So wherever the 100 is, that would probably be a sensible place to be moving on this. But yeah, I'm totally bearish on this all the way down till we hit the 100. 100's rising fast though because of how much time we've spent here. But yeah, it's not a pretty looking chart. This is definitely coming down for a bit, and then we've got some consolidation to work through. But if we ever recover this top, there might be a battle to get above, because there's definitely a line here. But coming up from a bottom this low and then coming in and hitting a top and then hitting it soon, there would be some momentum in this. So it would probably likely break at the next touch, or potentially the next one, but I'd say the next one it might break and we'd be moving up. Cool. I'm going to call it right there, guys. Love this stuff though. It's so fascinating. It's so interesting how things kind of come back around, and a level you never think you'll ever see again, and suddenly it's back. So that's why I'm really patient. I put buys and sells in, and if they're upside down, I just sit on them for years if I need to, because those levels will come back again. Especially in crypto, when there's not a lot of fundamentals to work from. In crypto, well, in stocks or other things, you have actual money flow, you've got things driving price. Crypto, it's a lot of speculation. And so things are wild. They're up and down, and it's pure emotion. And if you're level-headed in a sea of emotion, you can make so much money. And that's exactly what my strategy is on the Pro channel. And some people can't handle it. There have been some people that have joined the Pro channel recently, and they were too emotional. They couldn't handle the ups and downs. They couldn't handle an account that was red for too long, and they had to take off because it's not for everybody. Being able to handle that it takes a special special person. But I have no fear. Like, I have no concerns about whether the positions I'm in are gonna pay out or not. They absolutely will. I just have to wait long enough for it to happen. So that's how I trade, and it works for me. So awesome, you guys. So cool to have you here. I love Wednesdays. Good times. And a lot of you that are on here are in the Pro channel, so you guys are great. You guys are awesome. I love your thoughts and comments and all of that. But yeah, boy, give it a couple months, man. We're gonna be really rolling. It's gonna be awesome. Okay, thanks again. We'll see y'all. Thanks for making it to the end of my video. Make sure you keep those trades small. Don't force a trade. Don't get impatient. And if you want to see how all this works, please come over and check me out on the subscription channel at cryptoinfluencers.com. Again, the link is in the description.